Bases dropped on soccer's morning show. It is Thursday, and we'll be on longer than an hour today because we don't have anything to do with National Signing Day OG version. John here, Jarrett there. And there's
I like how you have to differentiate your National Signing Days now.
Well,
where National Signing Day has turned into the Roman Empire. Now, wait, are we talking first one or Holy Roman?
Yes. Well, and we were talking about it yesterday when we were getting ready for all the coverage for one of the other me's over at GPB, and it has now evolved into a process. And this is not opening kickoff because opening kickoff this morning is far more weird than this. So we had signing day. You know, traditionally it was that Wednesday, that first Wednesday in February. Then we have the one that is now after high school football championships across the country in December. Then you have portaling one. So you have early signing day and portaling one. Then after portaling one, you have the OG signing day and portaling two. And I think what we figured out, Jared, is that the new signing day that happens before Christmas and portaling one, that section now has to do with the teams that are Power Fives, that are top 10, top 25, the ones that make the deep runs and get the big bowl games and things like that. So all of the big teams and the big names get signing day one. Then signing day one lends itself into all of those big name teams, and portaling one, where everybody who's mad because now their job and their playing time might be in jeopardy, they jet. So now what happened in early February are those teams that are hanging around 500, the ones that didn't do well. They're seeing what happened in the early portaling and what happened in earlier signing day. And now with OG signing day, they're the ones that get to sit there and say, okay, these guys didn't get taken, so we'll chase after them. And then the ones that get mad because of the second round of chasing, that's where portaling 2 comes into play. I think that's where we are right now. Did that make any sense at all?
Yes, it did.
It's like
Fair enough.
Basically, it's trickle-down economics, except it has to do with football players. That's the best way that I could figure out what it is.
And I'm fine with it. I mean, my favorite thing that we've done recently is allow portaling. First of all, it is fun that it takes away some of the excuse for coaches to rebuild teams. See Southern, Georgia, because Clay Helton had access to a portal. He could merge that offense from a modified triple option into a full-blown, Irk spinning in the grave air raid. Mm-hmm. But he did it quickly because the portal allows you to do that. Which means that, sorry, Will, I'm going to stare a lot harder at the likes of a certain redacted at Georgia Tech from the last few years, who in much more time was not able to turn Georgia Tech into a functioning football team that didn't look like, I don't know, a U9 team.
Yeah. Oof.
So, and also always give these kids the opportunity to jump around as much as they want, because you got dirtbag coaches who are going to recruit you to the school, and then we'll probably dip to something else, unless I think it was Tommy Tuberville, or it was either Tuberville or it was Petrino. I think it was Tuberville when he was at Texas Tech, when like the Texas Tech Cincinnati transition, where he was at one school at dinner with a couple players, got the call to take the other job, and then at dinner tried to flip the kids to the new school on the spot.
Yeah, that sounds very Tubbs-like.
I think he was at Cincinnati and going to Tech, or the other way around, whatever it may be. So for the sake of the story, he was at Cincinnati, recruiting the kids there. During dinner, gets a call to take the Texas Tech job, takes it, and is like, you know what, kids? Cincinnati's not that great. You know what's great? Lubbock.
Yes.
Lubbock, Texas. That's where it's at.
Yes. So that's what
did that.
I think you're correct. It was the senator from the state of Alabama, Tommy Tuberville.
And yes, we will pour one out for you in a bit, Bam.
Yes.
Bam is sad about Arango. The amazing striker that LA was just damn determined to get rid of.
Yeah.
And I will never understand it.
$5 million, and now headed to Pachuca. Happy MLS season pass day 2, by the way. For those of you who have invested and who have done the deep dives, Apparently, our friend Kevin Patrick, who actually had some behind-the-scenes comments that were posted to WWE's Twitter account about Kevin Patrick being a part of Major League Soccer's commentary squad. So that is available on Twitter at WWE. Some behind-the-scenes commentary and comments about Kevin Patrick and Major League Soccer.
I would just like to point out, this is about the same price at I think it was $80 a month or $80 a month. My God, no. It's not a lot different from what we had. I don't know how many of y'all remember the pre-ESPN Plus days, but when MLS Live was a thing, this isn't a lot different. And price-wise, it's not backbreakingly different from that. And with MLS Live, you were subject to blackout restrictions and didn't get all the fun content. The best thing MLS Live did, and I am begging you, Apple, to do this. MLS Live had 20-minute game recaps where they'd split each half. They'd spent like 10 minutes on each half. So you didn't just see, it wasn't like the YouTube videos or 5 minutes. Yep. They spent 10 minutes on each half showing you different things that happened. It was a very in-depth recap. It was a really cool way to kind of get like a 30,000-foot view of the game beyond just like 5 minutes of video on YouTube plus 30 seconds of ads. Because, yeah, the thing that I took away from this is YouTube has broken me. Like, I was so over the damn moon at the lack of ads.
No question. And as a guy who will go down YouTube rabbit holes, I know that I'm in trouble. All right, so part of your question, and this is not opening kickoff for everybody. For those of you that have gone down into the rabbit hole for season pass, what have you seen? What have you liked? What have you not? Give me your feedback so far on season pass at Apple TV Plus. Apparently, there are profiles of players and things like that are a part of the discussion for each franchise. NYCFC doesn't have any player profiles up. Take that as you wish. The content apparently available for NYCFC is far less than a lot of the other teams right now on Apple TV Plus when it comes to season pass. So happy day 2 for MLS season pass. Give us
I would like to know if that's New York City's fault or if that's MLS's fault. I want to know who that one falls on.
Yeah,
because a lot of the content you get right now is it's MLS, but like it's teams that are responsible. Like, teams bear a brunt of responsibility for this entire process because the teams can produce all of this content themselves and I guess run it through MLS or load it up themselves. I'm not sure how it works exactly, but the teams can make that happen.
Yep.
So how much of it is MLS dropping the ball with New York City, or how much of it is New York City not producing the content or not getting things ready in time?
Yeah. So that's I want to see, now that we can celebrate season pass on a daily basis, and we will continue to do so.
Thank you, Michael Head, by the way, for correcting. Thank you very much, because I could not remember for the life of me. He did correct that. That was Tommy T. He was at Tech, then went to Cincinnati. So even better. You know what's better than Lubbock? Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Just a nondescript city on the other side of the river. It might as well be northern Kentucky. Come on over, kids.
Yes. Come enjoy Hudie Delight and
eat some Skyline with me.
Eat some Skyline. And that's probably what
Tommy Tuberville sitting there eating Skyline and crying to himself is just something I need to see.
Well, I just have this vision of him being at Texas Tech, trying to recruit a kid, jumping to Cincinnati, and then all of a sudden just creating this dish of Skyline chili out of nowhere. You know what's really good about Cincinnati? And he just kind of hit out from underneath the aluminum foil, this big old bowl of Skyline chili. You ought to have some Skyline chili with me. It's one of the delicacies of Cincinnati, Ohio. You ought to have it on a normal basis. So I just absolutely, so Alex says, according to Pablo Maurer's article, it's on the teams to produce the content.
So I don't know if you guys have seen this. Go look up, because this is something I want to see every MLS team do.
Yeah.
Go look up what the Atlanta Falcons built.
Yes.
I forget whose name is on it. God, I can't remember off the top of my head whose name is on it. Like it's a sponsored. They have like a production center. I forget who bought the sponsorship rights for it. But the Atlanta Falcons built this entire new internal production center because you do have, Falcons put out their own content. Terrell McElhaney used to be reporter for The Athletic, I believe, or the
Yep.
AJC. She works for them now. So you have this internal content that gets built, and I would love to see more and more of these teams produce that content. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So build out what you got and then produce more content at the end.
Yes. Build what you got and produce more content. Since we're discussing stuff, and Bam mentions your Quakes, Bam wants to know what your thoughts are. The Timbers fan being hired by the Quakes as a supporters relations assistant. I did not know this.
I didn't know this either. That's weird.
A supporters relations assistant.
Okay.
Sounds like that it's going to be one of those bridges between supporters groups and the club, perhaps for better education and understanding and sitting at the table and breaking bread, those kinds of things. But I mean, the Timbers know what it means to be a supporter and be a part of the fabric of a franchise. And I guess when you have the
Quakes the Quakes ain't new here.
No,
it's not like the Quakes are a brand new team trying to get their feet underneath. Yeah, they're trying to, rebuild themselves, but it's not like the Quakes are an expansion team. Jesus.
Yeah. So, but I mean, if they're to the point where they feel like they have to bring in someone that is this conduit, I guess, for lack of a better word. Because the games at Avaya, they ain't full.
No, they're not.
So it's interesting that they would do something like this. Bam! If you've got the link to the article, go ahead and post
share it on
so we can sit here and supporters relations assistant. That's a heck of a line on a business card. Supporters relations assistant.
If they need help, they need help. But
yeah.
Whew.
Yeah, exactly.
Never forget, by the way, that the original Quakes are actually in Houston now. They won a title, then went to Houston.
That is true.
And then they went and won a title with the new Quakes.
Mm-hmm.
So
yes.
MLS. We're just going to stay weird.
Yes, we're going to stay weird. All right. So the topics this morning. Okay, Bam. Bam posts it from the Ultras Barras USA. Okay, so before we get into opening kickoff and the topics that I've got on the table, and once again, this is open topics, Thursday thoughts. It's whatever you're thinking about today. As said tweet loads, San Jose just hired the enemy, and this is so Ultras Barras USA. And
I'd be pissed at that. It's not as intense as Seattle, Portland, but yeah, man, that's
working closely with @Seismic Union, ensuring safety and strategic planning.
Hey, look, man, as long as old boy owner of the Timbers isn't involved, then I guess
as long as
nothing.
It's outbound to help. A guy was a fan of the Timbers, and now he's going to San Jose to be the supporters relations assistant, working closely with the @Seismic Union, ensuring safety and strategic planning.
Sure, whatever.
There ain't a whole lot of folks that you need to be safety from at the moment for San Jose, and that's one of their problems. You need to get folks in the building. So that's the element there with that. But that is interesting. Hiring the enemy to come in to try to say, here's what you should do. And the only thing missing is like the old Benny Hill show where you're tapping the guy on the back of the head, trying to encourage them. It's just, here's what you should do. That's the impression that this gives.
And for the Falcons guys, you can look it up. It's called Ticketmaster Studios. It's the Falcons internal production suite.
Ticketmaster, there we
go. Sponsored by the Dark Lord himself, but but Ticketmaster Studios is the production suite. That's the one to check out. Because I would love to see, and not everyone's going to build that huge kind of production studio. Not everyone has the room or the funds for it, man. But I would love to see a bunch of teams get into that conversation. Like, put out tons of content like that, especially if this setup with Apple is going to give you the option to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Then yeah, man, set up and start producing just a metric ton of content and see what you can do. Get a good production setup, get a good rhythm going.
Yep.
You know, make something that the fans will enjoy. Don't just throw stuff out there for the sake of throwing it out there, of course, but put stuff out there for people to consume, because they will consume it.
Yes, they will. Sports money. So this came out from Justin Birnbaum at Forbes, and a tip of the hat to Bam for this as well. This is not opening kickoff either. Opening kickoff probably is going to
Opening kickoff's never going to happen.
Well, no, and it's a lot quicker than other things too. It's food based, but we'll get to it. Okay, so Justin Birnbaum's article at Forbes. Since 2019, the average MLS team's valuation has climbed 85% to $579 million. Nice business if you can get it.
Hey, sports teams, we talked about it before, long-term investment.
Forbes estimates now LAFC is worth $1 billion. 9 years after it joined Major League Soccer for the expansion fee of $110 million, making it the league's first billion-dollar franchise, more than double the $475 million Forbes determined it was worth in 2019, and that was the last time that they assessed North American soccer teams. So you have impressive return, LAFC. You've got smiling faces. I'm trying to get to the list so we can see and break it down. 1 through 7. Here we go. Actually, tell you what, let's go to the end. Let's go to the end and build our way up. How about that? All the way at the bottom of the list, it's the Colorado Rapids. So Stan Kroenke and the Colorado Rapids are last. They are 28th at $350 million. They had minus $5 million in operating income in 2022 on revenues of $33 million. So you have the Rapids last. Next to last, CF Montreal, 22 revenue, $30 million. The Saputo family operating income at $12 million. FC Dallas, 26th at $400 million. $8 million on the minus side for the Hunt family and operating income revenues of $40 million. Vancouver, $15 million in the minus side on operating income. Kerfoot, Mallet, and Luxo, revenue $21 million for Orlando. The Purple Team, 24th at $420 million. $42 million in operating revenue on income of -4. The Chicago Fire with Joe Mansueto as their new owner, $18 million loss in operating income on revenue of $25 million revenue in a top 5 media market shows you what Joe Mansueto is having to climb uphill and work right there with the Chicago Fire, 23rd at 425, and the Dynamo with their new owner Ted Siegel, $10 million loss on revenue of 39. So that's 22 through 28. RSL, San Jose's at number 20. RSL apparently was a net zero business last year. Blitzer and Ryan Smith on $43 million. The Revs lost $4 million. They're valued at $475. John Ingram with Geodis opening up Nashville -$5 million at $46 million, $500 million valuation. $500 million valuation at number 18 in Major League Soccer. And so that's big stuff right now. You're 18th and you're valued at $500 million. Red Bulls at 17, Minnesota United on $1 million loss. They're at 16, Columbus at 15 at $550. FC Cincinnati, $1 million loss. Operating revenue, $56 million. $560 million valuation. 13, Philadelphia, -$8 million in operating income owned by Jay Sugarman on a revenue of $54 million. Sporting at $590. A lot of this seems to have folks in the $500 million range for Major League Soccer. Sporting Kansas City, $590 million at number 12. Inter Miami at $600 million, $5 million loss on $56 million in revenue there at number 11. Charlotte, $4 million operating profit for David Tepper at $69 million in 2022 revenue. getting into the top 10 now. The Timbers at $650 million. Revenue, $66 million for Seattle at number 8. Of course, it skipped forward. Portland, $65 million in revenue, $1 million profit. Seattle, $66 million profit. Seattle also is valued at number 8 at $660 million. Austin, already $680 million valuation by Forbes. $84 million in revenue. Operating income, $2 million. When you sell out your building every single time, that's what you get. Toronto FC, $15 million minus side for operating income for MLSC. 22 revenue at $62 million. Don't know if that's U.S. or Canadian. I would imagine it's U.S. And once again, the one thing to think about with the Canadian franchises is the rate of exchange from the Canadian dollar to the U.S. dollar, which also contributes to the operating loss. DC United, $8 million on the plus side, operating income on $70 million in revenue for a team that was that bad, $700 million. NYCFC lost $12 million, revenue of $55. Atlanta United, number 3 on the list. Valuation for Atlanta United by Forbes, $850 million. $81 million in 2022 revenue. Operating income, $6 million on the plus side. The Galaxy at $925 million, $98 million in 2022 revenue for AEG. $4 million on the plus side, and then your number 1, LAFC. Thank you, Bam, for pointing this out. $8 million on the plus side, revenue of $116 million. Winning a championship will do that. $1 billion evaluation for LAFC. So that's where we are. Jarrett, did any of those, and anyone who is out here this morning, did any of those evaluations shock/surprise you in any way?
I mean, no, because everything's growing. I mean, at a certain point, though, when you start going through numbers, everything will start to run together in your head, and that's okay.
That's true.
Because you just at a certain point, your brain can only take so much in a certain amount of time. Look, it's numbers. I mean, it's an organization in MLS that is growing in terms of value pretty consistently. So no, none of it's really that shocking. I mean, yeah, some of you might think like, wow, that team wasn't good. How are they that valuable? Well, keep in mind, new stadiums do increase value. Things do grow in value over time.
Yep.
In the end, it doesn't have to be more complicated than that.
No, but you have all of these valuations, and this was part and parcel to why Bill Foley bought Bournemouth instead of an expansion franchise in Major League Soccer. He was asked about it, and Bill Foley,
money.
Yeah, I mean, Bill Foley said, "Look, for me to invest in an expansion franchise in Major League Soccer would cost me $800 million. Building a stadium, soccer specific, expansion fee, all that kind of stuff." He said it would cost me $800 million. I can buy Bournemouth for $150 million and be in the Premier League. So Bill Foley, who wants to do the multi-team model, and he wants to do that as a part of his burgeoning sports empire. Remember, he's got Vegas Golden Knights and building that as well in the National Hockey League, and that valuation went through the roof the second it hit the ground. But Bill Foley saw the writing on the wall. Is like, okay, would I rather drop 150 and bring in 5 players on signing day, signing day? Yeah, we know where I'm based. Transfers in the January transfer window. Or would I drop 800? Bill Foley's like, no, me and Michael B. Jordan, we're buying Bournemouth, man. I mean, I get that. It is specifically about growth of the product. And you've got these guys that have jumped in for Major League Soccer in the last handful of years, understanding that soccer is a growth industry. I will, regardless of where we are on the planet, I would say if you're looking for an investment that is a long-term play, Jared, as you say, I think that soccer clubs are definitely the way to go here.
Yeah, so sports teams in general are a long-term investment that grow as long as your league doesn't go under.
Yeah.
By the way, shout out to the Arena Football League coming back.
Welcome.
Yes, we're very excited. But if you buy you're not buying a franchise to flip it in a year. As long as people understand that concept, that you're not buying a franchise just to flip it in a year's time. You buy a franchise with the intention of keeping it 10, 15, 20 years and seeing its value jump from, I spent $500 million on this. What's it worth now? $1.2 billion. That's how it works.
That's
But it's a long-term investment, and it takes a lot of capital to do that sort of thing.
yep.
But no, I'm not surprised any of it's valuable. Of course it is. Franchises stay valuable.
Yes.
They maintain their value and they grow in value, especially as whether you consider it like a bubble or not with with like TV deals. However you consider that, that has
Yep.
to be taken as part of it.
Mm-hmm. Also, Ricky with a question. Speaking of the Fire, do we think they'll move with the Bears to Arlington Heights or stay at Soldier?
I have no idea, man. I don't trust. I don't know, and nor do I trust the Fire to not step in a bear trap. There
Yeah.
you go.
Well, and here's how I would present it. Think of it from a business decision standpoint. Joe Mansueto made sure that they weren't going to be in Bridgeview, because going to Bridgeview is an hour away, and then it's in Chicago traffic. No one was going to Bridgeview, especially to see a franchise that wasn't doing well. You had to come back into the city. If you are Joe Mansueto, I would want to be someplace where I am the primary force for attention. I want to be the center of attention wherever I go. If I follow the Bears to allegedly Arlington Heights, I'm not the primary tenant in that building. I know that I'm there most of the time by myself, except during the latter stages of the regular season and the playoffs, when the Bears come back and they play on weekends, and then you've got to dance around them when it comes to scheduling. But if I'm Joe Mansueto, I want to be someplace where I'm the number one dude. So that to me means that I want to be where the Bears aren't. So if the Bears go to Arlington Heights, Soldier Field is sitting there, the spaceship is sitting there on the lakefront, Jarrett. I want to be the number one guy there, and I think that I could get a break for rent because of the spaceship being there and not being occupied.
I mean, you probably can. There is the fact that you are going to have to deal with. I mean, yeah, you would have to be the second tenant if you went with them. I mean, you get this conversation, I think, with Atlanta sometimes about Atlanta being a second tenant to the Falcons, but ownership plays into that. And I would think at this point you've seen enough from the way everything goes with Atlanta that yeah, the Atlanta Falcons are a bigger deal because American football is bigger in America, because it's worth more, because it generates more eyes, because it's just a bigger product at this point in the universe.
Yep.
That's fine. But the way you have it set up, Atlanta United is taken seriously. It's not treated like a secondary, problem child. And that's good. That's what you want to see. You want to see it get treated like a serious thing. So, that being said, if you're not going to be owned by the person who owns the Bears, then yeah, you're going to have to assume, and if you're Chicago, I think, you have to assume that you are going to be kind of the second fiddle for them. So, yeah, you do need to look out for your own.
Michael,
and if you're Chicago, yeah, you're looking out for the Fire, and maybe the Fire can, I don't know, not look at a landmine and think, man, we shouldn't step on that, and then maybe for once you won't step on it.
Exactly. Yes, Nick's Soldier Field was initially built very, very early in the 20th century, but it has been renovated. Very, very shiny building, and that's why I refer to it as a spaceship, because the way that it was renovated and restructured, it does look like one of those alien spaceships from the 1980s movies. And they thought that it would, this is kind of cool. It doesn't have like normal flat angular elements to it like we think of Stadia. It has flowy roofs and things like that. It's not something that is strictly 90-degree angles when it comes to how something is built. It's just a very futuristic design from 5 or 10 years ago.
Just think of the movie This Island Earth.
Yes. But to Michael's point is 5,000 fans in the spaceship looks pretty darn bad. Yes, no doubt.
Yes, absolutely. And look, the Fire aren't about to look, Atlanta in a bad year was still putting I know we can have this argument, and I don't care. Please don't at me. I'm not in the mood today. About tickets sold versus in attendance. Yes, I know. No one's going to pretend there weren't 45,000. There were 45,000 seats filled in every game last year. You still put north of 20,000 in your home games. Chicago can't do that when they're doing well. So yeah, Chicago's got some stuff they got to work through.
Yep.
I would argue they've also abused the trust of their fan base for years, beyond what you would consider for Atlanta. And I know people are really still hurting about Atlanta, but man, like I promise you, it could be. Promise you, could be worse.
Yeah, I mean, you look at what folks are dropping here. Can the Fire actually? Coco's asking, can the Fire actually succeed as the main attraction in a building they couldn't in Bridgeview? I think location for Bridgeview was the problem. They wanted to escape the city so they could be someplace that was less expensive, read cheaper to live in. So you had to go to Bridgeview to play. And when you're good, people will find you. They'll make the travel, they'll make the effort, and they'll sit there. But when you go off the rails, folks aren't going to make that hour drive. And I think that part of the rebuild for Mansueto of the franchise, from the franchise perspective, was to get back into the sight lines of the public, and you got to come back to downtown for that. There was a discussion about having a USL Championship franchise in the Chicago area, and it was building its own stadium. It was supposed to be coming up in a couple of years. I haven't heard any updates in a couple of years, but there was talk that they would have this live, work, play environment, and the stadium would be a decent soccer size, to put in quotation marks. But, I think, frankly, the city would want the Fire to be a main tenant so you don't have this ghost of a monolith that is just sitting there empty, unless you're going to tear it down and build something else there. And I don't think they're going to tear down Soldier Field to sit there and build something else because of what has been invested in the stadium. So I think that the city would take the idea of the Fire being a main tenant in one of your signature buildings just because it keeps them downtown. You're still gaining some revenue, and some revenue if the Bears go to Arlington Heights is better than no revenue if the Bears go to Arlington Heights and the Fire go with them as a secondary tenant. So I think that the city might be somewhat stuck in that idea, but I think the Fire can leverage it for themselves if they take advantage of the idea being that primary tenant if the Bears go out to the suburbs. Bam with the thought that no MLS stadium should be over 30,000, Jarrett. But I mean, Bam, you look at
Sorry, I'm muted as I'm yelling about this. I disagree on the grounds that I want to see the potential for growth. So my thing has always been, and for those of you that have been to Kennesaw, my big beef with the build of the soccer stadium at Kennesaw that Atlanta United 2 uses, that Kennesaw State Soccer uses, I feel like it's the perfect kind of stadium where you could theoretically build out a almost terrace it on the second level, go straight up. I would love to see them do that kind of build for that stadium, especially they're going to have to now that Kennesaw State football is going to D1. They're going to have to figure out a new stadium situation.
Yes.
Might involve tearing down Town Center Mall. Who knows? Because, again, the weirdest thing in my life is that Town Center Mall is somehow less safe than Cumberland Mall. Yeah. How the hell did that happen? But I don't love the idea of limiting yourself. So, I mean, if you want to do like 30,000, like that's fine. I'd love to set that gap more to like 40,000 personally, because I think you can continue to see growth over the next 10 years. And I know the shelf lives of stadiums are infinitely lower than they used to be, because it's always a great gambit for cities to get basically robbed blind by organizations, and organizations seem very happy to do it. And cities, more importantly, cities seem really happy to give taxpayer money and publicly fund these giant stadiums that they're not going to see economic profit of.
Here we go.
I digress. The shelf life of stadiums isn't very long by the time you get to the point where I think MLS could be in a really fun place. Maybe you'll need bigger stadiums.
Yeah, I mean,
And that would be awesome.
you look at San Diego, and San Diego builds Snapdragon, and the Wave and the NP give you north of 30,000. I mean, Angel City, when they're in the NWSL and they're at
Qualcomm was there forever.
yeah, and I mean, right now, what you've done, you've taken Qualcomm, you raised it, you built Snapdragon, and it's a comfortable attendance. It's a good number to have. It's a solid number for San Diego State and for the Wave and for all of those franchises there. You didn't overextend your build, and right now you're turning things into supply and demand issues when it comes to tickets. Hey, I want to go see the Wave. Oh, they've got 33,000 there. I can't go. So you're creating supply and demand by making the building a decent size. I think that BAM here with Atlanta United, you're getting 42,000 because that's what demand is. And then there are times where you still got a season ticket waiting list for Atlanta United. I think that 30,000 should be your marker, Jarrett, for soccer specific stadiums here in the States.
And as we have this conversation, like I also want to give validity to what Wiley was saying, that he's pessimistic about it. Yeah, I understand. Last 2 years ago, things were super up and down. You lost in the first round of the playoffs, and last year really felt like a lost year. So I understand your pessimism. I absolutely understand where it's coming from. I'm a bit more optimistic than you are, but that's fine. Like I understand where you're coming from with it. And at the same time, yeah, I don't think one season dictates everything for a place like Atlanta, or 2 seasons in this case. 2020 for me is still kind of hard to pin down because COVID throws it into chaos. Yeah, 2021 was weird. Last year was really disappointing, and this year is a big prove it year. And we talked about it the other day. It's a prove it year for a lot of the players. It's also a prove it year for the coaching staff.
Yep.
And I think at least I can't speak for y'all. I'm optimistic about the long-term future, and if that means that there's some short-term pain for a long-term future, that's a decision you have to make if you think it's worth it or not.
Yeah.
And that's not something I can make for anybody. Everyone has to figure out how they feel about that themselves.
Yep. Michael Head mentions Austin and Nashville. Michael thinks Austin and Nashville should have built bigger. I think Geodis can be expanded. You'd have to build straight up because it was kind of carved into a hillside. So for Geodis, it's in a great place, but
that whole Nashville thing was such a weird. That whole Nashville build out was so damn weird, man.
Yeah. And so what you can do at Geodis is, if you want to, you could probably take sections of the current roof off, and then you can build up and out. Austin, you can't. There's one of the 4 walls at Q2, only one of them, and it's one of the end zones, you can build out, because literally Q2 was shoehorned into a space where Geodis was carved into a space, if that makes any sense. If there's more of an environmental allotment of space for Geodis than there is for Q2. Q2, literally, the way that it is, Q2, if you're looking at it, it's like if you're watching a match on television at Q2. Press box side, you could probably, I don't know.
We wouldn't know because MLS won't send Atlanta to play a damn game at Q2 because they're jerks.
I know. I don't know if you can build a second level on the press box side, because there's literally an alleyway and an office park. If you're looking at it from the press box and you look to your right where the supporter section is, you could build up in the supporter section, but you'd be taking out parking, which I imagine is for the big time donors and the hoity-toity season ticket folks. I don't know if you'd want to sacrifice that for more seats if you can't find a place for folks to park. From the press box side, looking over to the far sideline, there's no room there either, because it's a very little amount of plaza and then it's apartments. And then the only side naturally that you could expand at Q2 is left end zone, and there's like a park and some green space and some walking space for fans to kind of congregate before the game. So one wall of 4 that you could expand at Q2, I think that the 22,000 at Q2, I think Anthony Precourt didn't build a big enough barn. I mean, yeah, it's selling out every single time, which is what you're looking for. We talk about supply and demand, but Q2, I don't think can expand. And if you do, it's in the end zones, and only one of those end zones really is viable for me to expand. But yeah, I think Austin's too small.
I don't know. I haven't been, and we haven't been able to look at it on TV from an Atlanta perspective because, again, MLS sucks at their scheduling right now, and I'm really pissed off about it because I would love to see Atlanta go play Austin. I'd love to see Atlanta go play in St. Louis. Will we get to see that? Who knows? Good question. Exactly. Ask Don Garber next time you see him on the street.
It's like, hey, Don. Coco, Ullman Stadium at Tulane's perfect for them. 30,000 capacity, so when the team is good like this year, it's packed, looks amazing. When they're bad, it's half full. Still doesn't look too bad. MLS should be able to do a good job filling a 40,000 seat stadium at Coco.
And to your point, Coco, you got to figure out a stadium situation for the next New Orleans in the USL team coming in. And if it's not the Riverboat Gamblers, we're going down there and we're burning stuff down. First of all, second of all, Tulane would be an interesting location for it. I don't know. I think the old Zephyrs field was being used for rugby at last check.
Yes, that is true.
That'd be an interesting one.
Yeah. And back in our stacks on the network, you can do a USL New Orleans search. And we talked to the folks that are trying to organize the USL to New Orleans and what their plans were last year as they continue to grow. Tafka agrees that the right approach to building, to make the building able to expand as growth takes place. If you can't fill a 25,000 seat stadium, you simply aren't marketing and running the club correctly. I think in this day and age, you should better be able to fill a 25 if you're making.
Michael's right. We never got a chance to go to see Minnesota's new stadium when Atlanta went up there in 2018. That was at University of Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
That was the Golden Gopher land.
Yeah. Nick's, to Bam's point, a small full stadium is so much better than a large empty-ish one. But once again, I think that different sizes and different locations fit your identity. And so I think that that's what you're chasing after here. It's trying to figure out what's right for you. The point that Seattle and Atlanta are right for Seattle and Atlanta. Atlanta at 30,000 at Ricky to Nick's counterpoint. Atlanta at 30,000, Seattle at 30,000. That doesn't make any sense. Because once again,
I mean, and you can do it city specific. I mean, Atlanta and Seattle went big in the aspiration side of things and, basically swung for the damn fences and connected.
Yeah.
Not everybody's going to have that same connection.
Yeah.
I would be interested to see what would happen if you did put, 50,000, 60,000 for some of these other cities. I'd be very interested.
Michael, maybe he's wrong, but he just doesn't envision KSU football filling a 40,000 seat stadium.
Oh, they absolutely will not. They're going to have a bigger one, not because they're going to fill it, but because there are NCAA regulations, if I'm not mistaken, based on being an FBS school versus FCS.
You've got to. It's
not about
12-5.
I think it is, and Kennesaw State does not seat 12-5 to my knowledge.
Yeah, I think Kennesaw.
So this isn't me pumping up Kennesaw State as, oh man, they're going to fill that place. No, they're not going to fill that place up, man. Like there were times in the past few years where Kennesaw State, going back to, I think it was 2018, when they got to the third round of the playoff. They lost on the road to Sam Houston, and should have won that game. It was a damn good team. Chandler Burks was still quarterbacking that team. That team was unholy and could not get anybody to fill up Kennesaw Stadium. And it was like a video game, man. During whatever hell conference they're playing in now, during conference play on the football side.
The Big South.
During Big South play, I mean, it was like a video game. They were beating people by 30, 40 points running the triple. It was beautiful. You love to see it.
Maintaining FBS status, a school must average 15,000 in paid or actual attendance a game at least once every 2 seasons.
I mean, they don't. They, I mean, can you? How much can you fudge that to where like donors
Oh,
can?
yeah.
Yeah, like, hey man, we'll put your name on this if you buy 10,000 tickets for a game,
Mm-hmm.
just so we can have that total.
Yeah. So that's the thing.
I don't know how it would work.
You've got to average 15,000 in paid or actual at least once every 2 seasons. So, and also remember that if Kennesaw wants to raise North Point and move away from the fraction and have the fraction be their facility for their non-revenue sports, then you also want to turn it into a multi-purpose venue where you can have concerts and all those kinds of things, where you can seat more than 25,000 folks. Like if, Zach Brown wants to do something at the new Kennesaw State football stadium, the Owl's Nest 2.0, then you're going to need something that's going to seat 30 or 40. So it's for those alternate ideas, not necessarily for your football, but it's for those alternate ideas where you can continue to generate revenue. It's not just for football season anymore.
Yeah.
Let's see. Coco wants to put the next pro team in Bridgeview. Hang them out on an island. It's like, you go to Bridgeview now. You go there. And so, yeah, and Emilio, the ability to cover the top level is key. No one remembers that it's there. He hates Gillette for displaying the top level. You go to MBS, and
we make fun of Red Bull Arena for that all the time because they cover the top level.
Yeah.
I don't think Emilio's wrong, but we make fun of Red Bull Arena all the time for covering the top level of one of the most consistent franchises in MLS.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they can't get over the hump for a title, but they're in the playoffs consistently.
Yeah. Coco, Southern had to grow to 26,000 at Paulson when they transitioned to FBS. And there are times when they get 22, 24,000 there to go watch a football game. I mean, and we all know what Georgia Southern and football are. We all know what it means to partake in Eagle Creek. And
we do. Bam's. I don't think Bam's ever been to.
No,
Bam's probably never been to Statesboro, Georgia, and that's probably for the best for Bam.
Yeah, well, if Bam ever makes it to this side of the world, we will definitely show Bam what it means here. If you have to cover a level, the stadium's too big. And Michael, the way MBS covers up the upper deck is almost elegant.
I do love the way they do it. If you're going to do it, that's the way to go about it. I agree.
And Coco, Paulson looks fantastic when the crowd's 22 to 24. It absolutely does. It is loud. It is crazy. You've got fans on the grass and the berms, and it is loud and obnoxious. I mean, there was when was it? It was the League One final when I was in Statesboro, and I think it was the James Madison comeback for Georgia Southern that was there in that crazy game that was played on at Paulson that night. And so you could hear when Kyle Van Treese and Georgia Southern make the comeback that we're at the League One championship game, and Tormenta and Red Wolves are playing, and they were hoping that that once the James Madison comeback was over, that folks would work their way over to Tormenta to Optum. And you could hear Paulson from Optum, and that's the kind of environment that you're looking for those kinds of football teams and that kind of capacity. And so, Coco was a fantastic game. And after the game was over, as the Van Tassels and Tormenta thought might happen, you got some carryover from folks that still wanted to see a live sporting event. They worked their way from Paulson to Optum to watch the League One championship game. Yeah. So, I mean, that's what you're hunting for. Coco, with some NFL draft advice. Kyle Van Treese is going to get drafted. Tell your kids. I don't.
If you don't tell them, someone else will.
Yes. So Coco did it first. Bam agrees that he does need to go further east than Vegas on a trip over.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do. And it might actually be a little less expensive coming to Atlanta to hang out with the 17s, Bam.
Scott's cheap flights.
Yes, Scott's cheap flights.
I actually don't know what flights out of Australia look like, though.
True.
There's that.
Yeah, Emilio, MLS had that planned out engineering-wise. Won't look as good in, say, Red Bull, Seattle, or Gillette as examples. Brilliant on MLS's part. Yeah, the newer facilities, they look at the aesthetic. And you look at places, well, I mean, Seattle's a football stadium, and that's always been where the Sounders have played. Gillette, the lower bowl at Gillette for the Revs, when it's full, it's loud. But the Revs have to be doing well, and it's got to be on a weekend instead of a midweek where remember, Foxborough's halfway between Providence and Boston. And sometimes it is a lot cheaper to fly into Providence and a lot less of a headache to fly into Providence to go see a Revs match than it is to fly into Logan, get a rental car, deal with Logan traffic, get out of town, and still drive to friggin' Foxborough, where Toby Keith's restaurant no longer exists.
Can't believe they took out this bar.
It was his kind of place. Do you turn into a pumpkin, sir?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so you'll be back tomorrow. Normals, 9:05. Beyond goals at 9:30, and then off and running at 10. So we will see you.
That's the game plan.
Yeah, be good.
Okay, probably won't, but okay.
Attaboy. There you go. So that's Jarrett. Jarrett's here always for hour number one. And it's good to have. Yeah. So literally, Bam, you have been summoned by the 17s and everybody here at SDH to come through and hang out. When you want to come this way on the exchange rate of 30%, come on over, and the 17s will give you a fantastic time. Hour number two coming up in just a little bit. We've got all the news that's fit to print, your MLS transfer update, quick update on Atlanta United, really Giakoumakis. The latest is it's probably still trying to get paperwork and ITCs and visas figured out. But a lot of folks, pretty much you can turn your head. It's a done deal. So just, we'll wait and see on paperwork and things like that. Same with Luis Abram. Nico Moreno, Manuel Veth, Luis Abram is a done deal. Once again, probably just waiting on visa, ITC, paperwork, those kinds of things. By the way, Thursdays with Nico is this afternoon at 1:30 on the network. So 1:30 back here, and we will do the half hour with Nico. Go Thursdays with Nico at 1:30, 10:30 Pacific time, and we'll break down everything that has been going on in Nico's world. And the latest on, once again, checking sources, as we always do. The discussion about Luis Araujo to Palmeiras. If you go to the article that was posted yesterday after the article that was posted 2 days ago, the first sentence in the article, the most recent article, says that there haven't been any conversations and that Luis would probably have to take a pay cut. So there you go. That's your Atlanta United update. Giakoumakis and Abram look like it's just a matter of time. Luis happy here in Atlanta. And folks that wanted to stir something up involving Palmeiras, there haven't been any talks, and Luis would have to probably take a pay cut, and would probably have to also be a philosophical change as well, considering that Palmeiras at times can play very, very painfully watching soccer. So that's your latest with Giakoumakis, with Abram, Araujo. We've got stuff going on overseas. PSG is massively pissed off at Celtic for how they handled or didn't handle the Hakim Ziyech deal. Mbappe injured. Looks like something with the knee after missing 2 penalties in the first 20 minutes yesterday. And so he had to leave the match for PSG. We've got stuff involving the women's championship. The Australia coach kind of dodged the questions about it, and Australia and New Zealand, the oversight group for the World Cup is like, okay, we'd like some answers, please, and thanks for not consulting us. So we've got that to talk about. Next time Bart is on, there was some thoughts and helpful hints from Mark Geiger about officiating and what you should do if you want to be an official. And Mark Geiger's advice to ambitious young refs. And so I want to, next time Bart is on, I want to discuss Mark Geiger's advice to young refs, since Bart is our resident ref. So I wanted to get Bart's advice and how he thinks about what he thinks about Mark Geiger's advice for young refs. So we've got that to talk about at a later time. And then there's some stuff out of the Guardian this morning. We've also got gossip, rumor, innuendo, things left unsaid, and your viewing habits. The worst record transfers in Premier League history. The Telegraph came up with that per the 20 teams that are currently in the Premier League. That was a really interesting read. The worst record transfers, and what we'll do is we'll see if who you have in your mind for your Premier League team is who the Telegraph had in theirs without looking and cheating. Also, best and worst from the Premier League as well for the January window. And apologies once again to Tom and to Ropes about the article. And once again, this is Jamie Carragher who wrote it. So Carragher, Everton have proved me right. They are the worst run club in the country. So Jamie Carragher had a column also at the Telegraph, and he had that to say. So we'll see what everybody thinks about that. Emilio, any chance we go back 3 as the primary formation if it fits our personnel? Game by game. And this is what I would say when it comes to what personnel look like. If your opposition plays in a certain way where having 3 at the back is beneficial, the way that, and once again, and this is something that Jason impressed upon me very, very early in our friendship when it came to looking at the attack of the opposition. You always want to have one more in defense than they do in attack up top. So as a rule, as a guidepost to say, if they have 2 up top, you're going to want to have 3 central defenders, or your 6 may drop back and be that 3rd. So as a rule, look at the opposition, see how many they have up top, and then that would be your guess as to how Atlanta United might approach if they see something else in film that they think they might exploit, but work around the attack of the opposition. So attack of the opposition, 1 up top. As a rule, you're going to want to have 2 central defenders. If they have 2 up top, you're going to want to go with 3. So just kind of keep that in your mind when at game by game, keep an eye on what the other team looks like. And, if you've got, 3 central defenders, and once again, you've got Atlanta who can work your striker, your left striker back in Andrew Gutman with Caleb Wiley, or whatever you want to do down the left-hand side, Brooks Lennon down the right-hand side. But yeah, if the opposition attacks with 1, you want 2. If the opposition attacks with 2, you want 3. So just to have that as an idea. Tom, I was just mentioning, don't apologize, he's spot on. Just the fact that it was Jamie Carragher that wrote it, because I know that Carragher is someone who's a bit of a touchstone for folks, either good or bad. It's like he's one of those that really gets reactions from either side of an equation. You either fully understand him and you're with him, or you're completely against him. And for those that aren't fans of Jamie Carragher, to have this written out by Carragher, do you take it with a grain of salt, or is he just creating something? So that's read or not, he's right. And we might get into that too. So, all right, it's coming up on hour number 2. What I'm going to do opening kickoff to start hour number 2. But first, before we do hour number 2, it's time to, all right. So what did we say, Tom? What was it? 12? Was 12 too loud yesterday? I'm trying to think of my levels here. So 12, take it out of loop. See, background music on the system that I'm operating with here on the board always starts at 50. So it takes a while for it to slide it down all the way to 12. And it always comes naturally as a loop. So rock 12 level. Here we go. Okay, that doesn't sound too bad. For odor-free, clean, fresh air, one place you need to go. Friend of soccer down here in the SDH network, it's our friends at the Lemonized Service. QR code over my left shoulder for those of you who are watching on Twitch. Lemonized deodorizes enclosed spaces like houses, apartments, and condos. Creates a customized solution that lemonizes all organic odors, including those like pet, cigarettes, and food. Realtors and property managers use the Lemonized Service to eliminate bad odors to help them sell or rent their homes that much faster. The turnkey process, we like that. Makes it easy to work with said realtors and property managers. Kind of the environment, we like that too. Offering a green way to get rid of odors without any kind of toxic residue whatsoever, different than Febreze or your favorite masking agent that you have either underneath you in the sink or above you in the cupboard, because when you reach underneath the sink or above you in the cupboard, and you take that masking agent out and you spray it in the air. There's a reason they call it a masking agent, because you're just masking the odor. You're not attacking the problem all the way down to the molecule like our friends at Lemonize do with their proven scientific formula. Pricing very, very easy. One of two ways, either by the cubic foot or parts per million to come up with a price. It's affordable for you, offering results in 24 hours or less. If you have any questions, frequently asked or otherwise, go to the website, lemonize.com. But do us a favor here at SDA, after the .com, and this is where I grab my pen. Go /Atlanta so they know what part of the world that you are reaching out to them from to help you with your issue. Full homework assignment, ELIMINIZE.com/Atlanta, lemonize.com/Atlanta. Lemonize Service, rotor-free, clean, fresh air. Lemonize Service, proud sponsors of everything SDA. Oh, I said I was going to 10. Okay, thank you. So we'll go to 10. Just as a rule. Okay, so I'll go to 10. So, all right, that's 10. Different? Yes or no? Different, better, worse, awful? Okay, so 12 was actually still slightly hot. This is 10. Good. Okay, Bam can't hear it, so we'll go with 10. So we'll go with 10. We might go with 11. There we go. All right, so now we're going to fade it so no one can hear it. There you go. And there's your promo read for the day. Okay. Opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee. KickoffCoffeeCo.com. There's your QR code for those of you who are watching on Twitch. Once again, QR code for everything at Kickoff Coffee. And thanks to everyone who's purchased stuff from Kickoff Coffee to help them kick off what they want to do when it comes to coffee in the mornings or any time of day that you want to have coffee. Use the code SOCCER down here 15. You get 15% off of every purchase that you've got involving Kickoff Coffee. They in turn take 10% reinvested into the youth game. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee, KickoffCoffeeCo.com. Okay. Opening kickoff, since Bam sent us off the rails with the Forbes valuations this morning. And thank you for doing that, by the way. Huge difference between 12 and 10. Okay. So we'll go with 11. All right. This morning before the show started, and usually this is when opening kickoff stuff triggers in my brain. It's like, yeah, I'll do that. That's a good opening kickoff question. I was watching a commercial, and it was about pizza. And that's probably what I'm going to have for lunch, or Dana's Burgers from the best stop in Scott, Louisiana, or both. Who knows? But someone in their creation of pizza was promoting ranch dressing on the pizza as a part of the sauce blend. And I looked at that and I was completely and totally grossed out by that idea. Ranch dressing as a part of sauce to make pizza taste different. That sounds absolutely sacrilegious on one end, and it sounds absolutely gross on the other. But I'm sure that there are folks who are completely and totally down with something like that. I'm not, and I know that surprises you. So my opening kickoff question for you this morning, as we start hour number 2, what is the weirdest food take that you have? Like I said, some folks may think the idea of ranch dressing as a part of what you put on pizza, as a part of the pizza mix where you would put cheese and tomatoes and stuff, and folks are putting ranch dressing on as a part of the mix for pizza. What is the weirdest food take you have that people look at you like you've got 3 heads? Because to me, ranch dressing as a part of making a pizza is about as weird as it gets. So what's the weirdest food take that you have that is completely off the rails to everyone else around you, but you think is absolutely normal? So that's your question this morning. But yeah, no. But I mean, Michael, fruitcake for breakfast. There's nothing wrong with. It's like what you would put on something. You know, Bam likes Vegemite. You knew what. All right, so Ricky, how did you know this day would come? You don't know what I watch in the mornings. It just happened when I was watching a commercial. Somebody's making pizza, and they're taking that ladle, and they're spreading ranch dressing on it as a part of the pizza mix. And I'm going, that is completely and totally gross. That was completely and totally gross to me. Why would you have ranch dressing to go with tomato sauce, to go with cheese, melt it, and have it on a pizza? That to me is just, no, I can't do it. I can't do it. Michael, nothing wrong with fruitcake for breakfast. Was it Claxton? That's the question. Tafka, we'll put ranch on pizza on occasion, but not as a sauce. What would you like to try? Pineapple juice is a part of the sauce recipe. I have, and full disclosure, pineapple on a pizza, I actually am okay with. One of the sports anchors that I used to work with many moons ago, Steve Taylor, one of the most brilliant writers ever when it came to script and copy, did not really write anything down for scripts. He completely and totally would cut highlights and he'd ad lib and he'd write things down on a piece of paper, and there would be virtually nothing in prompter, and he would just read off of his paper. And that was one of the guys that I looked up to when it came to coming up with scripting and personality. Steve completely, totally loved ham and pineapple pizza. And I actually tolerate, and I thought it was just odd. But ham and pineapple on a pizza, I get that. I understand that. So pineapple on a pizza for me, not totally weird. So and Bam digs it too. Ham and pineapple, not there. Bam, hot chips or fries for us in a bread roll with sauce. Okay. Ricky, he's a hot sauce on pizza guy. So let me guess, you put that ish on everything. Fork card. Ranch on pizza isn't bad. Not best, not worst, just not bad. Okay. Okay, so Ricky putting hot sauce on pizza, probably as weird as it gets. DJ, don't have any really weird, but you will occasionally eat a banana pepper sandwich. Okay. Bread and banana peppers. Is it, I mean, do you have like mayo, or what do you have to make it easy to, what's the sauce? Is it just the juice from the banana peppers is the sauce that goes and it seeps into the bread? So that way you're okay. Yes. Bam. Yeah, Bam's from the land down under. There you go. Uh-huh. It smiled, gave you a Vegemite sandwich. There you go. Nothing like quoting. See, Men at Work, underrated. I'm sorry. As a child of the 80s, Men at Work, very, very underrated. And by the way, Be Good Johnny, underrated track for Men at Work. Okay. Tom, cannot get behind pineapple anywhere near a pizza. Okay. Understand that. Tafka, pepperoni Italian sausage. Okay. Pepperoni Italian sausage and pineapple is the winning combo. Okay. Right there with you, OG, putting that ish in everything. Absolutely. Michael had Tabasco sauce in soup. All soups. Okay. But I get that. I mean, if you're someone that likes to spice things up, or if you like, heated, if you like hot food, those kinds of things, I get that. I understand the rationale there. The boss likes sriracha on as much different things as possible, but apparently there's a sriracha shortage, and when you find it, you've got to do something, and you've got to hoard it almost. But so now she's going to Louisiana hot sauces now to help that out. But yeah, Tabasco sauce and soups, I understand that. Ricky Ricardo, Texas Peter, Louisiana, not a Frank's Red guy, but still, you put that ish on everything. Okay, so no sauce on the banana pepper sandwich. All right. Bam. We all have to try fairy bread. Butter a piece of bread and put sprinkles on it. Sounds like something you do when you're like 6. I mean, like pixie sticks. You put like pixie sticks on buttered bread. Okay, I understand that. Alex, underrated by fools. Sriracha is life, according to the OG. Okay, so David made fairy bread for your child this morning. Okay. Yes, Alex, exactly. Oh no, ma. Oh no, da. I'll be a golden boy. I will obey every golden rule. Absolutely. Like I said, Alex, underrated songs. Glad you're playing along this morning. I feel like I need to go find the track and bring it in. That's probably what I'll do. I'll bring the track in tomorrow. We'll do that. We'll start the show that way. Ham and banana peppers pizza. Okay. Yeah, because, Tom, if you're a banana peppers guy, I understand that banana peppers would be a part of your universe in other places. I get that. Completely and totally get that. Tafka, Tabasco in cream-based soups. Okay, I get that. Yeah, okay. Oh, and Dave, David, this is what happens when I'm here by myself. I'm here with you. So No, I just can't. My food takes, I don't think, have been banned. I think I've just been banned from that channel on the Discord. I think that's the semantics here. I can't go on the food channel on the SDH Discord. I've been banned from that. I can still have bad food takes, I guess, but I can't go on the food channel on the Discord. And if you're a subscriber and you don't have a way into the Discord, let us know and we'll find a way to put you in there. But yeah, I think I just can't be on the food channel on the Discord at SDH. I can still say what I want about bad food takes. That no one should be surprised by any of them, but I just can't be on the Discord channel. So I think that's the. Yeah, I mean it's Thursday thoughts, OG. I mean that's what we are here for. It's Thursday thoughts, and since I didn't get. And that's why, you had everything go off the rails when Bam brought the Forbes valuations in, because this was supposed to be opening kickoff. And I'm like, okay, now that we're in hour number 2, we'll kick off hour number 2 with the opening kickoff. Staple at kids' birthday parties, fairy bread. Okay. And Tom is true. You're giving your takes and not getting mine. Yeah. So the semantics is there. So the semantics of the argument. Yeah. Sriracha on fries. Excellent. Yeah. And that's why you knew the day was coming. what kind of boy are you, John? Exactly. I like to daydream. Yes, I absolutely like to daydream. Well, I mean, Nick could probably come in from the top rope to end it, but no, it was just weird food takes. That was my question. So, but yeah, that's your opening kickoff for hour number 2. When you go, yes, have 4 and 20 meat pie and a beer. Well, actually, Bam, you can have the beer for me, but I do want a 4 and 20 meat pie. When does the season start, by the way, for AFL? Because that is one of my guilty pleasures. Staying up late night here in the United States on a Friday or Saturday night on one of the networks here, and I will watch either 7 Network or Fox Footy's coverage that they have there on FS2. But no, it's one of my guilty pleasures, always has been since the days of the 4-letter, and it was one of the staples for them. Like I said, Lethal Lee Matthews and Hawthorne and all that stuff. Absolutely. Grand final, great pageantry. Love it. Mayo with fries. Euro way is the best, Tom says. Okay, so bam, AFL kicks off March 16th. So we've got 6 weeks. All right, 6 weeks to go before the season kicks off. Well, and, like I said, and OG, I got pizza in the fridge. And so, like I said, it's probably going to be Dana's patties from Scott and some pizza. So it's going to be like all day. Yep, that is true, Bam. The ownership group, since you mentioned this, Loud United. All right, so this came across when the show started this morning. So here's the deal. According to from DC, from Loud United and DC United their own selves, quote, DC United ownership group has announced it has reached an agreement with Attain Sports and Entertainment to sell a controlling ownership stake in the USL Championship club, Loud United FC. Attain, led by CEO and managing general partner Greg Baroni, will assume operation of the club prior to the 23 USL Championship season. Baroni will serve as principal owner of LUFC and represent the club on the USL Board of Governors. Let's see, investment into the sport, local Northern Virginia community, saying something positive about Segra, 5,000-seat stadium. Quote from Jason Levian, takes a full paragraph. Investment in the USL Championship club by Attain will add to the company's growing portfolio of professional sports assets. AA Baltimore Bowie Bay Sox, Frederick Keys, yet to be named Atlantic League baseball team based in Frederick, Maryland. Baroni also serves as founder and CEO of consulting company Attain Partners and the private equity firm Attain Capital Partners. Quote from Greg Baroni. And there we go. So, yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, DC United came through, and that came out about 45 minutes ago. So, yes, cold pizza for breakfast. Love it. Lasagna leftovers. Love that, too. Would have no reason to know where Footscray is if it were not for the AFL in the 90s. Absolutely true, Alex Pacine. Should also be allowed that only mustard goes on any meat in tube form. Okay, so cold pizza. And this is unsolicited, by the way. I grew up in Northeast Atlanta, and there is a pizza place that is off of Briarcliff and Claremont, Moe's Pizza. and grew up on their Monday special, still do to this day. Rated the best whole wheat crust pizza by Atlanta Magazine. Whole wheat, a large pepperoni, extra cheese on whole wheat crust, and it sticks so well, especially cold the next day. It's not like where if you have like a normal pizza crust and the crust will like overcook or something and it turns into something incredibly chewy that you have to fight with a knife and fork the next day. Whole wheat crust pizza, Moe's Pizza, Radcliffe and Claremont grew up on the stuff. So there you go. Okay, yes, and bam, we know it's going to be Al-Akhli and Seattle in the Club World Cup. Al-Akhli beat Auckland City 3-0. Now they get Seattle. So when that's on, we'll be talking about that, and that's going to be on early in the morning. So, so that's where we are with stuff. Let's get into gossip, rumor, and innuendo while we're here. And like I said, we got other stuff to talk about and how folks are pissed. Like Hakeem Ziyech is really pissed, and we'll get into all of the news of the morning as well. Real Madrid will make signing Jude Bellingham their priority in the summer. Color me surprised. Arsenal tracking Callum Hudson-Odoi, currently on loan at Bayer Leverkusen. Everton looking to sign Andre Ayew, who's expected to arrive in the UK for talks on a free. Andre Ayew, what do you think? Nottingham Forest could also be tempted into a move for the 33-year-old. It's the four-letter paper, so take the information at your own peril. Everton could also look to sign former Real Madrid and Spain midfielder Isco, who is available on a free. They had a deadline day move for Colombian striker Duvan Zapata, rejected by Atalanta. That was one of our reported 14 targets Everton failed to sign on deadline day. That's courtesy of our friends at the Express. So you went 0 for 14. 0 for 14, Everton. Chelsea and England left back Ben Chilwell among Manchester City's targets for the summer if Joao Cancelo does not return from his loan spell at Bayern Munich. Chelsea's owners will not demand immediate results from Graham Potter following the club's January spending spree. They know it's a part of a larger picture. Blues also set to add another signing in English striker Jimmy J. Morgan, who will join from Southampton. He's 17, and it's from the three-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. Chelsea's Hakeem Ziyech sent desperate text messages to Todd Boehly as he tried to complete his proposed loan move to PSG. And this comes to us from the Mirror. So, once again, let's run this down. Starting the World Cup, it broke down in the 11th hour. So confident were all parties of the move being completed. Ziyech spent the entirety of the day in the French capital to seal the deal. Once again, this is the Mirror talking. Ziyech, who'd already seen his minutes limited. Further down the pecking order following their January business, they signed Mykhailo Mudryk. They signed Noni Madueke. They brought in Joao Felix on loan. Ziyech was expected to join the club of exits. The move broke down late in the day as the official documentation for a deal was not properly sent by Chelsea. Report in Sky outlines it. And the word that Sky uses about Ziyech is incandescent with the situation. He's glowing. He's glowingly mad. Text messages to Todd Boehly instructing him to give the move the green light. Once again, you get pop-up windows here. Desperate to seal the switch to Parc des Princes, he was willing to use his own money in a late move to hasten any formalities, yet PSG were said to have been sent the incorrect documentation for his deal by Chelsea before the correct copies were sent, but without the required signatures. So they send the wrong stuff. They send the wrong stuff. Then they send the right stuff, but they don't sign it. Then they send the right stuff, and it ended up being an hour late. And you go to appeal, and the appeal got turned down. Not the first time, and you can't set a precedent. There was concern that if they did overturn it and sit there and approve it, then it would open the door for other deals like this in the future. Player was left stranded in the French capital, dejected, now returns to Chelsea for the remainder of the year. Unclear what his role will be. So you got that if you're Hakeem Ziyech. Less than pleased about the whole thing. Understandably so. He is hacked off, as he should be, frankly. He should be hacked off about everything that went wrong. 3 separate times. No, this was, I don't think it was because they were so focused on Enzo. I mean, it probably could have played a part. It could have played a part, you know. If you think about it, Alex, I mean, we're so focused on dropping 120 on Enzo Fernandez, which, by the way, is entirely too much. Great business for River. Fantastic business for them. $30 million on the plate for a dude that had a valuation of 10% of that. Not too long ago. I mean, if you got folks, and Alex, to your point, if you're wondering if it was just because they were so focused on Enzo, then I would think that you would. It's like, look, you knock on the door, you know, Mr. Boley, Mr. Boley, Mr. Boley, you need to sign this, sir, because we're trying to get rid of Hakeem Ziyech. Okay. And then that's all it takes. Don't be afraid to knock on Todd Bowley's door. Don't be afraid to knock on his door and sit there and go, Mr. Bowley, Mr. Bowley, Mr. Bowley, I need your signature, sir. We're trying to get rid of Hakeem Ziyech. He's at PSG's offices right now. Ziyech is sending, and Bowley looks at his phone. He's sending me texts. That ought to be a trigger to sign it. Yes, absolutely. David, you got leagues open. Argentina, Brazil, Liga MX, Major League Soccer, Turkey, I think, is open for another week. No, there's plenty of other places to do business. So, yeah, the window's not over. But Ziyech was so looking forward to PSG. Mr. Bowley, Mr. Bowley, Mr. Bowley, and it still didn't get signed. But you literally, you would think that you're just like, look, I need you to sign this. I need you to sign this. That's all you need. We need to fax this to Paris. Sign this. That's all it should take. But that's just me. Real Madrid set to bid for Karim Adeyemi from Borussia Dortmund. Barca will offer Sergi Roberto a new contract. Leeds declined the opportunity to sign English defender Axel Tuanzebe on loan for Manchester United before the window closed. Agent of Bobby Firmino believes discussions over a new contract will conclude this month. So that's your first round of gossip, rumor, and innuendo. Like I said, we'll get into MLS transfers and everything else going on. Graham Potter said in the press conference this morning that Ziyech is back and committed. They're still waiting for clearance on Enzo Fernandez, so we'll keep an eye on that. Because of all of this, Chelsea, they're going to have some problems. They have a Champions League registration issue. Chelsea are only allowed to register a maximum of 3 new players for the knockout stages of the Champions League before taking on Borussia Dortmund in the last 16, starting on February 15th. They signed 8 in January. 8. Clubs have to inform UEFA of their desired squad changes by 11 o'clock local time, February 2nd. So they've got 11 local time, 6 o'clock tonight. So they've got 7.5 hours as we're talking now to tell UEFA who's in, who's out. Here's our 3. Deadline can't be extended. UEFA publishes the full list of ins and outs once they've been approved. 3 new registered players are allowed to have played for another club in European competitions this season. So being cup tied is not an option for any of them. So you've got to choose 3 from this group. Benoit Badiashile, Andre Santos, David Datro Fofana, Joao Felix, Mykhailo Mudryk, Noni Madueke, Malo Gusto, Enzo Fernandez. It's probably going to come down to the third one. You're going to have Fernandez. You're going to have Mudryk. Who's the third one going to be? Who's the third? Badiashile, Madueke, Malo Gusto? Whoever's not, they're probably going to be getting more playing time in the Premier League and other competitions. So, yeah, it's going to come down to the third one. 323 and a third million pounds on those 8 guys in the January transfer window. You got to pick 3, Graham Potter. We know 2. Who's the third? Who's the third man? Who's the third man? We'll find out who that is in short order. 25-player limit. So all the signings can be registered in the Premier League squad. No restrictions on that. But also 25-player limit, so some of the current Chelsea squad could make way for new arrivals. It has been mentioned that I think Koulibaly and Cucurella, or Cucurella, depending on who you talk to, would be the ones who would be on the outs after this season. So we'll see what happens there. Premier League registration deadlines also today. So we'll see what happens with all of this. So 8 does not equal 3, Graham Potter. So we'll see what it looks like for Chelsea. And Barcelona apparently, and we were looking at this. We mentioned early on where LAFC Chicho Arango to Pachuca for $5 million. Barcelona missed out on signing the Galaxy defender Julian Araujo on deadline day, 18 seconds late in registering the paperwork. 18 seconds. Barca had been trying to sign him for £5.25 million in a deal until 2026, according to Diario AS. Matteo Alemany, the director of football. We couldn't register due to a system error. It was just 18 seconds. We'll see what FIFA say. This was 8 hours ago. Barca didn't make any major signings in January. Hector Bellerin left for Sporting Lisbon. Memphis joined Atletico Madrid. Barca is 8 points ahead of Real Madrid, who played one less game. So you got that. Adam Ida has signed a new deal with Norwich, keeping him there until 2028. Southampton coach Nathan Jones has been looking for something different going forward. Kamaldeen Sulemana, 4.27 dribbles completed per 90 minutes, a half a dribble more than Alan St. Maxima, the Premier League's top dribbler. Last season at Rennes, he beat his opponent more often than any other player in France. Not close. Raphael Varane is retired from international football at the age of 29. Won the World Cup with France in 2018, 93 caps for his country, making his debut back in 2013, scoring 5 times. Once again, we mentioned Andre Ayew. If Lewis O'Brien's loan deal at Blackburn collapses, they may pull the plug on the Ayew talks. They don't have space for both O'Brien and Ayew in their Premier League squad list. The 25 names must be submitted by half an hour ago. So those names should be drifting out pretty quick as to what's happening. So the 25-man rosters we should know in short order when it comes to the Premier League for the remainder of the season. Pedro Porro joined the Spurs on loan with an obligation to buy. We mentioned Jorginho, Arsenal sealing that deal for $12 million. So here's how Chelsea avoided FFP. $323 million on 8 players. More than the clubs in Italy, Germany, France, and Spanish top flights combined. So how do you avoid FFP? Designed to limit excessive spending, Premier League rules put a cap on the losses a club can suffer over a 3-year period. Large fines or point deductions can be dished out as punishment to clubs that don't adhere to the rules. But with the agreement on the transfer of Enzo Fernandez at 106.8, this is what you're staring at here. A spend of over £600 million since the takeover in May of 22, and they may have apparently stayed within the guidelines because they sold $61 million in players. So 10% net spend is $540.7. They sold 10% of what they spent in return. Kieran Maguire breaks it all down. And if you really want to know about the numbers games, Kieran Maguire is a must follow in these kinds of things. They spread the cost of the players, signing them on very long deals. Bottom line. Signed Mudryk on an 8.5-year deal. The way it's dealt for accounting in FFP, $88 million, divide over 8.5, $10 million a year. And that's what they've done over the last couple of windows. So same for a guy like Badiashile. Badiashile signed a 7-year deal. Restricted to the 25-man squad as far as Premier League and UEFA. You can't just keep adding folks. You've got the wage bill. New UEFA financial and sustainability rules starting to come into effect next summer. You are only allowed to spend 90%, 80%, 70% on your income. So the key, much like we see here in Major League Soccer, spread it out over the force of the deal. Spread it out over the force of the deal. And that's what you're getting. Ricky Ricardo doing fantastic work. giving articles to us in Popular Science, a bunch of experiments on how to best reheat pizza. Absolutely. David letting Zajic know that he needs to go to Montreal, the PSG of MLS. Yeah, David. Chelsea will send the list late or forget the official stamp so none can play. That's why you don't wait till the end. Yeah, Barca does have to slash a ton of money, Ricky. They absolutely do. And I feel like this is the title of a song, Tafka. FFP is a joke. It's not wrong. But once again, we've seen it with the Atlanta Braves. Signing young kids and signing them to long-term deals, locking them in. FFP is what it is. So what do? You sign players to 8.5-year deals with big transfer numbers attached to it. It's budgeted out over the long-term length of the deal. The rules as they currently are for the state of engagement, I've got a big transfer fee. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to sign the guy to an 8-year deal. That doesn't mean that if in 3 or 4 years that somebody really wants to come knocking and you've got a big release clause, yeah, sure, go ahead. That's cool. Once again, it takes that player off the books, puts the new team on the books, and FFP is what it is. But Tofka, yes, FFP, yeah, FFP. We shake our heads collectively. So, yeah, I feel like, when we see stuff like FFP and getting around it, I feel like that, we need to invoke our friend Eli Drake. Yeah. Perhaps if we, I don't know, maybe turn the volume up, and then that way we can actually hear what Eli has to say here. So, Eli, when we talk about FFP, what do you think? Yeah. There you go. Absolutely. That was loud at 12, so I think 10 might be best. All right. So, other news we got once again. You've got Charlotte, DC, Vancouver, and the Coachella Valley Invitational. FC Cincinnati signed center back Yerson Mosqueda on loan from Wolves. 21-year defender deal lasts through June 30. Includes an option to extend through the end of the 23 MLS season. Purchase option wasn't specified. Youth international center back on loan. Depth along Matt Miazga, Nick Hagland, Ian Murphy. Generation Adidas signing Joey Akpononu in the Super Draft. Quote from Chris Albright in a press release, extremely positive. Colombian top flight Atlético Nacional before he was at Wolves, appeared only once in the club's first team, 9 minutes against Spurs in Carabao Cup at Atlético Nacional. Mosqueda played 26 matches across all comps since debuting in October 2020 in the Copa Sudamericana against River Plate. Most of Mosqueda's appearances occurred with their U21s, which is similar to MLS Next Pro. Had hamstring injuries, so we'll see what happens with FC Cincinnati as they've added Yerson Mosqueda to their roster here in short order. A couple of other things. Since we mentioned what's been going on with the Guardian, and we mentioned the Premier League, I wanted to go over what they thought with, perhaps if I could spell Telegraph, then we could get to that particular article. Worst record transfers in Premier League history, and we'll get into the grades as well coming up here in short order. Tom Gibbs. Now, for all of you who have your favorite clubs, post in the comments on the Twitch pitch. You have your favorite clubs. Who do you think your worst record transfer is for your favorite club? Michael Head, Chelsea. Tom and Ropes, Everton. Bart, if you're listening and not working, Arsenal. So we'll go with the teams that I know don't have any fans or supporters that we've talked about here on the show. So let's go with a couple of the ones that we don't know. Aston Villa. For Villa, it's Emi Buendia. Alex Pacina, I know that you're thinking about Newcastle's worst pickup. So Emi Buendia, $33 million from Norwich. Lacks an obvious position, suboptimal for a player in the peak years of his career. Bournemouth, Jefferson Lerma from Levante, $25 million. Brentford, Keane Lewis Potter from Hull. 3 Premier League starts, used from the bench 6 times, injured throughout most of the autumn. Brighton, Enoch Mwepu, $20 million from Red Bull Salzburg. And forced to retire in October having a heart condition diagnosed. Now, this is interesting. For Chelsea, the author of the article, Tom Gibbs, for The Telegraph, for Chelsea, is giving it to Enzo Fernandez. You'd be brave to commit to a judgment at this stage. Intriguing to note that Chelsea are responsible for 8 of the 50 biggest fees paid in world football history. I want you to say for Everton first. I want you to give me your guess. Bam, thanks for hanging out, and thanks for starting the show off this morning with the Forbes valuations. Very, very cool. So Chelsea. Lukaku's on the list for $97 million. Kepa for $71 million. Alvaro Morata for $58 million. The guy at the Guardian or the Telegraph is already saying Enzo Fernandez is the worst. Crystal Palace, yeah, the worst record transfer for your club. Worst record transfers in Premier League history. Breaking your transfer record. So it could have been broken since the guy that you have in your head. But record transfer at the time, the worst one. So that's where we are. Crystal Palace, Benteke, $32 million from Liverpool. Fulham, Jean-Michel Seri from Nice, summer of 2018. Mega $1 million splurge in summer of 2018. Showed his talent for Marco Silva, but now he's at Hull City. Leeds, and they're saying Reuter. Most two-footed player I've ever seen, according to Jesse Marsh. Seems to have the goods. So this guy is already putting Reuter on there for Leeds and Enzo Fernandez on there for Chelsea. Leicester, Knicks. So, Knicks, who do you think is your worst record signing? I don't think it was before your time, Tom. I'm staring at the name right now. It was not before your time. So, think record transfer at the time. Who do you think the worst one was? And I'm staring at the name. And not before your time. Liverpool, Darwin Nunez, $85 million from Benfica. Tough for him given the next two highest are Virgil van Dijk and Alisson. Manchester City. He's saying, Tom Gibbs, the senior sports writer for The Telegraph, he's saying it's Jack Grealish. It's a cop-out to say the jury's still out 18 months and 100 million pounds later. Honesty about how hard he has found adapting was instructive, rather undermined by how easy it seems to have been for Erling Haaland. So Grealish for Manchester City, according to Tom Gibbs. Pogba for Manchester United. At the time, $89 million from Juve. Let's see. Forest, Morgan Gibbs White, $25 million from Wolves. Fee may rise to 40 with clauses. Southampton, Sulemana. Once again, I mean, these are guys that are just being picked up, and then Tom Gibbs is already putting them at the top of the list. Sulemana from Rennes. Spurs and Ndombele from Lyon at $55 million. West Ham, Lucas Paqueta from Lyon at $52.6. Good business for Lyon. And Wolves, Matías Núñez, $38 million from Sporting Lisbon. Yes. Okay, so Newcastle. Alex, you had it right the first time. Isak, $59 million from Real Sociedad, according to Tom Gibbs. Correct at the time of writing, but likely to change at least a dozen times within the next 5 years or for as long as Newcastle remain in this wonderful dream in which they get to Wembley, and the nation agrees that Sam Fender is good. 3 goals does not sound brilliant, but he's only started 3 league games, so he could be the new Shearer. So Isak, correct, Alex. Tom, for Everton, you are correct. Gylfi Sigurdsson from Swansea, $45 million. Gibbs says it's difficult to pick winners from Everton's dalliances with big spending recently. Sigurdsson sparkled for Swansea, but after a passable second season at Goodison, his productivity fell off a fjord in 1920. 2 goals, 3 assists, 35 league games, a slight revival the following year, not seen at all during the 21-22 season, released last June. You are correct. Gylfi Sigurdsson was Tom Gibbs' idea for Everton. Arsenal, Nicola Pepe. And so $72 million from Lille. So, yes. Knicks. For Leicester, Yuri Tielemans, $32 million from Monaco. Ongoing contract dispute is unfortunate, but apparently without rancor, despite the fee. One of Leicester's better signings since the unbeatable summer of Conte and Mahrez. So Yuri Tielemans right now is what it's looking like for the worst. The worst record transfers in club history. So congratulations. What was the bit about Sam Fender? The one-liner was likely to change at least a dozen times within the next 5 years, or for as long as Newcastle remain in this wonderful dream in which they get to Wembley. And the nation agrees that Sam Fender is good. So that's what they're saying. Yeah, if you came after Sam, it's all over. Not going to recoup anything, but worth it. And then, of course, he had that too. Yuri got you an FA Cup, though. But, yeah, so right now, that's according to Tom Gibbs. That's the worst record transfers for each team in the Premier League. And so Tom mentioning Jamie Carragher. He says, even if Everton get relegated, Sean Dyche deserves 18 months to rebuild a club in turmoil. First paragraph from Jamie Carragher. Everton are an absolute mess. Every time it looks like they've sunk to their lowest point, they somehow find a way to showcase another level of ineptitude. Sell one of your few assets, Anthony Gordon, to Newcastle for $40 million without an immediate replacement lined up is an epic failure of leadership from the top, impacting on transfer strategy. It would be incomprehensible at the best of times if the club was in mid-table pushing toward the top six. You'd scarcely believe they would self-inflict such damage to their ambitions. To do that when the team is 19th and in dire need of quality to avoid relegation defies belief. If the club fails to recover and goes down, everyone involved in this almighty, I don't know if we can use that word, mess up, from majority shareholder Farhad Mashiri to the boardroom execs, Bill Kenwright, Denise Barrett-Baxendale, sporting director Kevin Thewa, will be held responsible. Ought to be a full and frank explanation as to how and why Everton are the only club fighting relegation have come out of the transfer window with a weaker squad. Otherwise, positions are untenable. Called them the worst run club on Monday Night Football 10 days ago. Some people disagreed. I have been proven right. Long column from Jamie Carragher on it. So he went off. Absolutely off. So shameless swagger. Did you guys see this from Javier Tebas? From Sam Wallace. The head of Spain's La Liga. Yeah, it's bad. The head of Spain's La Liga, Javier Tebas, has renewed his attack on the Premier League by claiming the English game is economically doped after another record transfer window. English clubs shattered their record for January spending with around £800 million lavished on new signings, accounting for 79% of the spend across the top 5 leagues in Europe. Chelsea's total spend of $291.7, the biggest single outlay by any club in January, greater than the $255 accumulated by Italy, Spain, Germany, and France. The Boost Liga deal has divided clubs, further alienated. Real Madrid and Barcelona have chosen not to participate but have entered into their own rights sales. Tebas claimed that the losses of the Premier League were unsustainable. The La Liga chief raised around £1.7 billion by selling a share of future broadcast and commercial rights of all but 5 of the 42 clubs in the top 2 divisions to private equity. Tebas tweeted, which we know is always dangerous. We read about the strength of the Premier League, but it is not like that. It is a competition based on clubs' multimillionaire losses. Their ordinary income is not enough for them. Most of the clubs are economically doped. The La Liga corporate director, Javier Gomez, said in a video on the official La Liga Twitter feed, UEFA had to double down on what he said was cheating of financial fair play rules by English clubs. Gomez said English clubs are basically doping the finances. They're injecting money that is not earned by the club for spending, which risks the club's solvency. In our opinion, that is cheating because it has a knock-on effect for the other leagues, end quote. So the league is pissed. But we know that the rules of FFP are going to change from 3 years to 5, so we'll see what happens there. But once again, still, when you are Bully Clear Lake and you're signing kids to an 8-year deal to budget out the transfer fee, that's what the rules allow. You've gone past 3. You've gone past the new 5 years. You're at 8. $10 million a year as a part of your spend. It's brilliant. Brilliant work, and they're not going to stay there for the full 8 years. You sign them long-term, you move them on with a big release clause. Bottom line. Tom, with well, let's see, Araujo, Aruju, or Luis Aruju. Luis, locally, Jason? Locally, Luis Aruju? He should stay. I mean, but we talked about it early in hour number one. All the stuff that was coming out of Brazil was conjecture. First day, it's like, oh, he wants to go to Palmeiras. Every indication I've heard from Luis Aruju, he's happy here. He wants to do better than what he did last season, and he wants to be here and be a part of Atlanta United. The article that came out yesterday, after the one that came out 2 days ago, where it was, oh, he's looking at Palmeiras. The first paragraph, the first sentence in the first paragraph said basically that it was nothing concrete. He would be taking a pay cut, and he wants to do well at Atlanta United. Okay, Luis local, yeah. So no, Luis wants to be a part of the rebuild, if you want to call it that. Whatever the getting back into where we expect Atlanta United to be as a franchise. He wants to be a part of that. And you need to have that left foot on the right-hand side. So he wants to be a part of the build. And I will continue to go back to the last home match of the year, where a guy like Luis, well, and once again, and the word out of Brazil said he would have to take a pay cut, and it would philosophically, Palmeiras at times can be yes, and so it's, do you want to take a pay cut, and do you want to be for a team that kind of slogs its way through a match? I think those are two things that you don't want. So, yeah, and Tafka, it is on him. And like I said, I'll go back to last home match of the year, last year. Luis stood at his locker and answered every question. That's the kind of guy that I want around here. That's the guy that he'll stand up for what he did, what he didn't do, says he wants to be a part of it, wants to continue to, and wants to go back to improve. That's the thing. So, yeah, and that's, it is a business on both sides. But once again, now you're dealing with windows now too. So once windows close, Luis is here unless you get the offer that you can't refuse. And I don't know if Palmeiras is going to give you the offer that you can't refuse right now. So so that's how I'm looking at it where Luis Aruju is concerned. So Jorge Nicola, once again, thank you, Emilio. I think this is leading into what I saw yesterday. Okay, Sao Paulo, all right, meets with Lucas Moura. Palmeiras makes a proposal. Palmeiras makes a proposal, but yeah, and what I saw yesterday was that it would have to be a pay cut, and it would be to Palmeiras. Yeah, well, I mean, Tom, I think sometimes you try too hard, and but I want a guy like Luis Aruju who wants to try to will teammates forward. When you have that sense of, okay, I want to put a team on my back, and I want to try to find a way where we can will ourselves back into a match. I saw a lot of that last year, and so we'll see what happens this year. But you saw the 21 that Luis Aruju had. He wants to get back to the 21 kind of numbers. And so I know that Atlanta United fans want to see that too. But the fact that you could see you could see him wanting to will his teammates forward. He'll answer questions in the locker room. Stand-up guy, in a situation like that. That's the kind of guys I want in my locker room, especially as you're trying to rebound from what happened over either last year, 2 years, whatever time frame you want to put into it. So, no, those are the kind of guys that I want when it comes to that kind of stuff. Let's see. What else is from the Guardian? There was the other story out of the Guardian, and we talked about it yesterday when Bart was on, having to do with soccer and the Women's World Cup. And Women's World Cup. The Australia coach, Tony Gustafsson, Matilda's coach, sidestepped the issue of the potential sponsorship of the Women's World Cup, suggested his side's values do not align with those of the Middle Eastern Kingdom. Visit Saudi, and this is from the article in The Guardian from the Australian AP. Visit Saudi, the tourism arm of a country, and this is their wording. Visit Saudi, the tourism arm of a country with a human rights record described by Amnesty International as appalling, has been linked with becoming headline sponsor of this year's tournament. Like I said, we talked about it yesterday when Bart Keeler was on the show. Women were not able to enter sports stadia in Saudi Arabia until 2018. Saudis won the hosting rights to the 27 Men's Asian Cup on Wednesday, given a spot on FIFA's council. FA Chair Chris Niku and his counterpart at New Zealand Football, Joanna Wood, have written to FIFA to express their concern about the potential sponsorship deal. The letter said, "We cannot express strongly enough the potential repercussions and fallout that could result of this decision," adding the two countries place the utmost importance on gender equality. At Thursday's unveiling of the Matilda squad for the upcoming Cup of Nations tournament, FA asked media to refrain from questioning players about the Saudi sponsorship. Gustafsson's response could be seen by some to suggest he doesn't believe his team's values match those of Saudi Arabia. Quote, "It's too early to comment, right? But I know what these women stand for and what the team stands for. That's from way before my time. I've had the privilege to meet the Matildas alumni, and everyone knows the core values of this team. The federation's seeking more information, and the team knows what they stand for," end quote. There are a number of players, once again, Australian AP, number of players in Gustafsson's squad who identify as LGBTQ+, and how FA navigates the issue ahead of hosting their first senior FIFA tournament will be monitored across the world. Australia's men released a joint statement prior to the world competition overseas this past year, protesting the suffering of migrant workers and LGBTQ+ people in the Gulf state, only for Tim Cahill, an ambassador for the controversial tournament, to then join the organizers' camp. After naming his squad for Cup of Nations, Gustafsson says Australia will use the tournament as a dress rehearsal for the World Cup later this year. Wants to mirror the World Cup. Swedes may remain loyal to players he's previously deployed, like Claire Hunt. And then it goes into roster build for the Matildas. So that was when Tony Gustafsson was asked about the Saudi sponsorship as well. We mentioned earlier, Ricky, I think it was you who said that Mbappe is now out 3 weeks with the knee injury. Initially, they thought it was something having to do with the thigh, but it's apparently the back side of the knee. So Mbappe out 3 weeks after missing 2 penalties and getting dinged up in the match yesterday. Speaking of matches today, light day for soccer on the board. So here we go. Noon, Turkish Super League. We'll get into juice boxes here coming up in just a bit. Demirspor and Fenerbahce is at noon. Belgian Cup at 2:40. Real Madrid Valencia is at 2:30. Coppa Italia, Juve and Lazio is at 3. So it's a pretty light day on the TV side of things. Might be a day just to like reheat some pizza or get some nice warm food and just kind of veg out a little bit. Juice boxes for what's going on. We've got a lot of stuff going on, obviously, in Asia, Middle East, North Africa right now. Games started at 9. You got games at the half. As we work our way back this way, you get more friendlies, all the club competitions, the cup competitions in Brazil. You can catch a lot of that. The lower division stuff on Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here on Teise and all the networks. If you go to Fanatis and subscribe, if you haven't subscribed already, fntz.co/soccer down here, and you do invest, that does help out the network. And we couldn't thank you enough, but it's great stuff. I mean, it's Teise, it's Gold TV, it is BN Espanol, multiple channels across the board. You get a lot of the stuff that you don't get to see otherwise. That is there on Fanatis, and I've gotten addicted to Teise since I picked up Fanatis as well. Club competitions continuing in the afternoon. You've got cup action, Coppa Italia, Juve and Lazio. Juve at home is a plus 118 at 3 o'clock. Your draw is a plus 229. Lazio on the road is a plus 248. Real Madrid almost a minus 286 right now, hosting Valencia at 3. Draws a plus 453, and your draw is almost a plus 8. For Valencia to win, is a plus 800. Your draw is a plus 453. Valencia to win is almost a plus 800. That gets us into late in the afternoon. Lower divisions in Mexico, which you might be able to catch on LAS, Catradracatos Elite, and Uruapan at 5 o'clock. I hope I said those right. Once again, you got a lot of the lower division cup competition in Brazil going on all late afternoon. Liga de Expansión at 6 o'clock, Tepatitlan and Atletico Morelia. Tepatitlán at plus 148. They're a favorite in the barn. Colombia, Liga de Expansión at 805. Corcaminos and Leones Negros. Corcaminos is a plus 135. Leones Negros a plus 188. Then you have Marathon, our friends from Honduras. They're playing in the Liga Nacional at 8:30. And Liga MX at 10 o'clock tonight. Atlético San Luis and Puebla. Atlético San Luis is a plus 127. Your draw is a plus 225. Puebla is a plus 212. And if you haven't, once again, public service announcement. And once again, this is unsolicited. If you do not subscribe to John Arnold's newsletter about getting CONCACAF, it's a fantastic read. Keeps you up to date on everything that's going on here in this hemisphere. So great stuff that we get on a daily basis from John and John Arnold. And there might even be some Texas Tech talk in there too. After 4 matches, you've got 4 teams that have yet to play in match week 4 as they get caught up with everybody, and getting into match week 5. Pachuca, Monterrey right now, they're up top after 4 matches, 3-0-1. Pachuca's on top on goal difference. Tigres is at 8 points. Santos Laguna, Pumas, and Chivas, they're all at 7 points right now. So you've got a lot of folks still in a little bit of space, but Mazatlan has lost their first 3. Keep an eye on this. Mazatlan has given up 10 goals in their first 3 matches here in the Clausura. They're at a -8, and they have no points on the board. Cruz Azul has only 1 point in their first 3. It's a draw. Haven't scored a lot, really haven't, and they've given up 5, same as Querétaro, but Querétaro has 2 draws. Cruz Azul, next to last, only 1 draw in their first 3 matches. They've yet to play their 4th match here in the Clausura. So that is that's all the TV that's going on. That's all the juice boxes. That's most of the news that's going on all the way. The official approach has been made. Yeah, Jorge Nicola. Yeah, we dropped the Jorge Nicola stuff like just a second ago. Let me check and see if there's anything different. Let me go back to the Jorge Nicola thing that Emilio sent in. Let me see if there's anything up to date when it comes to. All right, so 8 o'clock this morning, Jorge Nicola had just that there had been something akin to a proposal. So it's the one from 3 hours ago, Tom, I think. Is that the one that you're the last hour or so? Official approach has been made for Luis. 3 hours ago from Jorge Nicola. So Jorge Nicola, Palmeiras makes a proposal to Atlanta for Luis Araujo. So that's where we are. But, Sao Paulo meets with Lucas Moura. Palmeiras makes a proposal to Luis Araujo. And so we'll see. So Jorge Nicola has put that out on his Twitters. So let's see, 373,000 plus. And he's followed by a lot of the big guns, Herman Garcia Grova, Fabrizio Romano. So keep an eye on Jorge Nicola if there's anything to it. But once again, we'll see with windows and agreeable costs, or if you don't make a window or you plan something for the summer. So that's out there from Jorge Nicola as well. But like I said, we'll see where we are. Palmeiras makes a proposal. But like I said, from what I read yesterday, he would have to take a pay cut. And Palmeiras, I think, would have to really almost change the way that they play, because they play in a slog. Sometimes it's some of the most painful stuff that you will ever see. At least it was last year. I don't know how they are this year, but so we'll see what's going on with that, if that was to continue with Luis Araujo. So that's where we are. Once again, keep an eye on international transfer certificates, visas, work visas, those kinds of things when it comes to Giacomakis and Luis Abram. Manuel Veth and our buddy Nico Moreno have Abram in the door. Giacomakis reported in the door as well. But like I said, keep an eye on your transfer certificates and visas and work visas and things like that. So we should be getting closer on those two. So like I said, so we'll see where we are with all of this news. But like I said, we don't know what we don't know. Just follow along your tier 1 sources, find your tier 1 sources, and we will continue to roll from there. Reminder once again, Thursdays with Nico is at 1:30. 10:30 out west, and we will discuss what's going on in Major League Soccer and in the world with the transfer windows and everything with Nico. We'll have Thursdays with Nico on a Thursday for a change. And we'll be back at it again at 9:05 tomorrow. 9:05 tomorrow is normal. Our friends from Beyond Goals coming on at 9:30. 10 o'clock will get you ready for the weekend, and we will continue to roll on for yet another week. It was great Thursday thoughts. Everything from pizza and what you put on everything to team evaluations from our friends at Forbes. And it was great that Bam stayed with us until he had to go to bed, as how things are in Australia. Thanks to all of you guys for hanging out with us on a daily basis here at SDH. If you missed it, once again, the interview with John Schuster, Curling John Schuster, is up on the network as he is now co-owner of Duluth FC and the NPSL up in his home of Minnesota. You can go back and listen to the Game of the Week with Jason, Woodward Academy and Tri-Cities, a 1-1 draw, and it was late that Woodward got the equalizer there. And caught up with our friends at Des Moines United as well. So that's another element in NPSL that's growing, and it's an interesting story out of Des Moines where they started out as futsal. They've gone to indoor. They were part of the MASL. They got promoted in MASL. They're winning championships and other competitions, and so now they wanted to add the NPSL to their resume. So Des Moines United also up as well this upcoming season in the NP. So everything on the network. Don't forget to download the Soccer Down Here app, available iOS and Android. Go to Spreaker, your favorite podcatcher, if you prefer to do it that way. But we'll be back at it again 9:05 tomorrow morning. We'll talk stuff. That's the official term. Mucha Plati, all played safe. And since it's the end of the show, that means I get to do this. So we'll be back at 9:05 in the morning. Stay dry, eat warm foods, and just take care of each other. We'll catch you up in the morning. Be safe.